Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and thanks for tuning in. So, I'm looking at building a 1957 Johnny Lightning Nomad wagon. I started this a long time ago, and this is the original footage. See, I started this probably, well, actually November something, 2019, and I had the idea or the inspiration off the ITW 57 that you saw at the beginning there. So, with that in mind, I started taking this Johnny Lightning apart because it seemed to be the most accurate to at least have for a base. So, there's a lot of little things you got to drill out, take apart. That process itself on a Johnny Lightning is a little bit more difficult than obviously like a Hot Wheels. We just got to pretty much take the base off the posts and everything kind of comes apart. This has a lot of moving parts and it just makes it a little bit more time consuming, but no less difficult, except for maybe the windscreen, because you don't want to drill too far and go through the roof, obviously. So other than that, this was pretty basic, and I'm going to be cutting the hell out of this thing anyway, so I was kind of just taking crap apart without too much concern about how careful I was or if I was going to damage something. If you think about the original, what I'm trying to come up with, most of it was cut up anyway. So here I'm marking off the posts that are going to come out of the actual Nomad area of the what makes it a Nomad, the actual wagon part. And I'm cutting off the entire, well, not the entire nose. I'm cutting it off a little bit before the wheel wells. And that's something that I decided to use the actual, because most often than not, if you watch any of my videos, I use a cutoff wheel on my Dremel. For that, I use, because it's just a small area, I actually use the jeweler's saw, because I do own one. I also used it to cut off the nose as well. So some of the issues I'm going to have to deal with is the radiusing the rear wheel wells to be able to fit. I'm using this Dremel sanding bit right now. And then I'm obviously going to have to cut a bigger hole, or a hole in the roof. And I'm just kind of, and I do own a ruler. I know I never use one, but I'm actually taking measurements here because back then I thought I was going to, have this thing knocked out in a couple days. And part of my problem is I ran out of ambition, talent, and I didn't know what to do. I came to a point where things weren't going the way that I wanted them to, and I didn't know how to take that and make it what I had in my head. So I shelved it for a while. And then obviously, if you follow the channel, I ended up taking a break not too long after that. And this footage is from a couple years ago, and I'm going to end it where I stopped. Now, where it's going to go as of this point, I haven't started it. I didn't want to do this video and narrate it with foreknowledge of what I actually end up doing for the final result. So the end result as of the end of this video is where I'm going to be starting from here in 2023. So I did that on purpose. I'm dying to get into it, and I've got some ideas, and I'm thinking a lot of it's going to change and be modified, but I'm not sure. This probably being one of them, but I don't know. So I've got the roof cut out, and then I'm taking this casting, which is I only bought because I like the fact that it had two motors, so I get two for the price of one. And I'm going to take this apart, cut off one engine, and that's going to be at least as of this point in time was going to be my engine. And I like the cab, the actual casting itself, as far as the sedan. So I'm probably going to end up using that at some point. I never throw anything away. And if you customize Hot Wheels at all, you've got a big box of junk that you have, kind of like a DieCast graveyard of sorts. Shout out to Paul for DieCast Graveyard. But, that's I always end up using something for something, whether it be to modify and make something new or a Gasland style post-apocalyptic build. This is kind of what I had in mind. You can see the wheel wells are radiused. You know, it's getting there at this point. I'm starting to feel happy that I get the vision of what I want. I cut the rear bumper mounts off, and I'm just gluing it right to the casting itself because it's not going to be screwed in like it was before. And there's my Juggo pieces. So here I've got the idea that I'm going to make a frame. I'm using 1/4-inch square styrene tubing, not tubing, but stock. And I'm trying to get an idea of where the frame rail is going to end. So I know obviously with this car I'm going to be extending the nose. So by extending the nose, I obviously can't use the same base that I had, plus I want this lower. So there's a lot of things that are going to change. So here, after I marked where it's going to be as far as the end, I also marked where the firewall is going to be. This is going to be one of the things I'm definitely changing is I glued a piece of styrene for the firewall, and it came out horrible. So that was another reason I was stuck trying to think of a better way to do it. Thinner styrene, possibly. Actually, not sure. I'm going to end up taking it off when I get started again. So here I want to make the cross member pieces. I'm just kind of marking the width that I need. And I'm utilizing my cutting mat because the grid actually works out perfectly for what I want for the width. You know, and I may end up changing this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up dumping this, you know, the more I'm watching this, because I'm watching it for the first time, aside from when I edited it real quick. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to go with some sort of brass frame that I'm welding up. Over the last couple of years, even though I wasn't doing videos, I was still putzing around and trying different things and trying to hone the craft. So I'm probably going to end up using some form of brass and then soldering it together. I may still try to salvage the frame. I'm not sure, but I just wasn't completely happy with it. So if I can modify it and make it work for the vision I still have, and make it decent enough where it looks good and functional, then maybe I'll keep it. But it just seemed kind of clunky and cumbersome at the time. And here I'm just using the liquid cement. I'm just going to brush it on. It's pretty much melting the plastic together, and makes a nice clean, so you're not trying to sand off big gobs of glue. So here's my styrene sheet. I'm going to use this as my floor pan per se, and I'm marking that off. Again, I'm using a ruler. I know it's rare, but it does happen. I'm just going to cut that and glue that on in the appropriate place. When you're doing something this custom, it takes a lot of trial and error and measuring. So you can see there I'm putting a little arrow so I know where, you know, because it's almost square but not quite. So I want to know what faces the nose. So when I lay it on the frame, it's not back asswards. So it's always good to write on stuff and make plenty of notes. So you can see here I'm trying to fit it inside, and that's essentially going to be the last aspect of my frame. So here I'm actually using my cutoff disc. I want to cut the grill out, and I want to cut each fender off separately. So it ends up being 3 pieces, minus the hood, of course, which is off anyways. Not sure what I'm going to do with them, but I still have them. They're with the cast so thick, it's not as nice as I thought it would be, and not as easy to work with as I thought it would be. So all of this might get abandoned. I'm not sure. I might just custom make something using, you know, solder and some weird crap that I find around the house. So I'm not sure. What I'm trying to do here is I actually have new stuff that works awesome. I'll show it to you in the next video for modeling. This is the 2-part stuff I think I got from Japan or something like that. It works, but it's not the greatest. You have to keep wetting your hands, and I'm making like an oil pan here because the casting that I took it off of doesn't have it because it just sat in the frame rail, which really I don't think I'm going to keep that at all because it looks hokey, and not very happy with it. So Here I'm using the, I don't even know what size this is, so I'm not going to say it. I want to say 3/32 brass tubing, and cutting it for axle tubes. And I'm going to use a piece of piano wire, put it in there, and then what I do is I end up cutting until I see sparks, a little groove on each end, so that when I put my axles in, because I put them in individually, left side, right side, now as long as the axle goes up to and past where this groove is, I can put a little dollop of glue in, and that keeps the axle from coming out and allows the wheel to spin. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. The little styrene you see for pieces, that's just to keep the frame height that I want, to make sure that when I put the wheels on, they're not resting completely on the ground, so it'll actually adhere to the frame itself. And again, whether I keep this or not, I'm not sure. When I look at it, it looks cool, but there's a lot of, from trying to put it back together perspective, it sucks. So that's kind of where I ended up right here. Please tune in for the next video. I'm going to try to get it done as soon as I can. I just want to get you guys caught up where I was. Thanks for watching, and I'll definitely catch you on the next one.